What does it look like to have 50 years of DC Metro history in one shot? Well, kind of like this. On one side, we have a Roar-built 1000 series train, the original fleet of the Metro. On the other side, a mock-up of the Hitachi-built 8000 series trains, the future of the Metro. One has carpeted floors, retro colors, and cushiony seats. The other has heated floors, lots of high-tech equipment, and open gangways. Today, we're giving you an inside look at the past and the future of Metro. It's the 4th of July, and this year it's a special one. It is 250 years ago that Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. Happy 250th, America. Now, here in Washington, D.C., we are home to America's Metro. And they're also celebrating a milestone, 50 years. That's right. Just a few months before the nation's bicentennial, the Washington Metro opened its doors. And to celebrate, they have a special exhibition where you can step aboard their oldest train and a mock-up of their future fleet. This I had to see for myself, which is how I ended up at perhaps an unexpected place, the Great American State Fair.
Honestly, there are so many really busy events in Washington, D.C. this summer. If you're looking to be downtown and find a quieter spot away from the crowds, this is the perfect place.
The State Fair features a Ferris wheel as well as tents where most of the states and territories promote themselves, their tourism industries, and sometimes their history. There's a rodeo and a concert stage where you're guaranteed a spot in the front row.
I will say, for the sake of objectivity, some of the stands do have a crowd. Probably none more than 20 people, but
I'm not here to see any of that. No, I've come to the fair in the scorching heat for one specific exhibit, and it's tucked away, hidden from all the main attractions, near the intersection of 4th and Madison Streets. It is the Washington Metro 50th Anniversary exhibit, featuring Metro's oldest rail car dating back to 1976, and a full-size mock-up of their newest rail car, which will enter service in 2028. And I didn't come alone. I'm here with my good friend, Joe Himali. If you're not already following Joe and watching his videos, you're not using your internet connection to its full potential. Joe makes fascinating history content from the DC area and from all around the world that he posts on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You should definitely follow him. But Joe has another job as well. He's a realtor, and some of you may have noticed that for the last few weeks, I have a different background. I'm sitting in my brand new office. Lindsay and I bought a house. We are first-time homeowners, and it is thanks to Joe, because neither of us thought that this was a realistic thing for us to do in our 20s, until we talked to Joe and he said, I think you can do it. We toured some places until we finally found the house that we love. We have a backyard, I have an office, we're still really close to the Metro, and looking for a house was just such a great experience thanks to Joe. Every question we had, he had an answer to. He told us things to look out for. He connected us with the other people that you need to get involved when buying a house. And now, not only do we have a beautiful place to live, we also have a great new friend. So I figured the least I could do is give him a shout out in my video. If you're in the DMV and you're looking to buy or sell a place, definitely give Joe a call. However, I recognize that a lot of my viewers might not be in that place right now, or you might not feel like you're in that place. Like I said, it's always worth just having a chat. I didn't think I was in that place, but if you're certain, then it's still worth just following Joe's social media because the content is phenomenal. And one day you might be in a different spot, then you'll know who to reach out to. You can also find Joe, myself, and our friend Andy at the Monumental Moments event at the National Capital Trolley Museum on Saturday, July 18th. We'll see you there.
So first up, we have a 1000 series train. Actually, this is the top number 1000. These cars entered service when the first part of the Metro opened in 1976.
300 cars were built in Georgia by a company called Roar.
Hear the roar.
The first trains were delivered in 1973, a few years ahead of the opening of the initial segment of the Washington Metro, which was the Red Line from Rhode Island Avenue to Farragut North on March 27, 1976.
And as you can see, they look very similar to what we have now. You've got the brown on the sides, the red, white, and blue front, the face with the circular headlights. Metro has had 7 different train types in its 50 years of existence, with an 8th on the way, and they've been numbered in order. 1000, 2000, 3000, all the way through 7000. Now, they haven't been retired in order, but that's a story for another time. And the first 6 generations were visually all very similar. In fact, I think if you got this train on the rails and it showed up to a station, 99% of passengers would not notice that this train is any different from what's running today. That is, until you step inside.
Stepping inside is like stepping into a time capsule. This train has been completely refurbished to resemble its original 1976 look as close as possible. You see that in the yellow, orange, and brown seats, in the carpet, in the advertisements that are hung up, and the maps on board. Now, the Metro opened in increments, but it was always meant to be a large regional network, so the maps reflected that from day one, showing not only the existing lines, but also the ones that were under construction or planned. And really, if you compare maps, you'll notice that the plans are largely similar to what actually ended up getting built. The interior is, as the kids would say, retro. You've got a soft yellow light instead of the harsh white light that modern trains have today, with an orange, brown, and yellow theme throughout, kind of reminding me of New York subway cars from a similar time. Although those trains had hard seats, here in Washington they had very soft cushioned seats, because the Metro was built as a system that people would spend quite some time on commuting from the suburbs into the city. They paid special attention to comfort and some would say luxury, and part of that was carpeted floors. Yes, DC was once famous for having Metro trains with carpet on board. In fact, carpeted trains ran until the early 2020s. When I first moved here, I used to still regularly ride 2000 series trains with carpet on them, but as trains were refurbished or as new trains entered service, the carpet was replaced with vinyl because, well, in the hot and wet climate that DC has, having a carpet trapping moisture is not exactly sanitary. One thing I thought was interesting, these trains seemingly had designated wheelchair spots, but with nowhere to really put your wheelchair.
Joe, so you make history content, right?
Yes, I do.
Well, we're sitting in a piece of history. Do you remember riding these trains?
I do. I'm a native Washingtonian. I grew up here, and I remember when they were putting the Metro in. And I remember the excitement when I was just a little boy to get a chance to ride on this brand new Metro system. And these seats and these colors, they totally throw me back to when I was a kid. It's so much fun for me. I sort of felt like I was walking back in history right as I walked into the train. It's a lot of fun.
Do you have a favorite Metro history fact?
Well, my favorite part was that when I was growing up, and I lived in Rockville, the nearest Metro station was all the way over in Silver Spring. So I used to have to take the 5 ride-on from Rockville to Silver Spring to get on the Metro to go downtown. And I remember the really big excitement when they opened the White Flint station. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to take the bus all the way across the city to get to the Metro station. So a lot of fond memories.
Last question, thoughts on the carpet? Bring it back?
Oh, bring it back, definitely. This carpet is awesome. Frankly, they should bring back all of the colors.
One more thing before we check out the new trains, the operator's cab. As you can see, it's mostly buttons here. These trains were equipped to run with automatic train operation from the very beginning. The console interface is just a lot more analog than on newer trains. 1000 series remained in service until 2017, having had a midlife refurbishment in the 1990s.
So now we're getting a look at the brand new 8000 series. So a couple of comments on the exterior. First, the destination signs, full color LEDs. Hallelujah, I love those. But the big difference from the original mock-up is that it's brown now. The original mock-up was black and blue. It actually looked really cool. I mean, the brown is nostalgic, and I understand that WMATA is returning to having brown be kind of the central color of their branding. So, you know, I'm gonna learn to love it. I don't love the big M's, but that did win the vote, so we have to respect democracy. And what I will say I'm really glad about is that the front of the trains is brown as well, because in a lot of the renderings we've seen, the front was black, the side was brown, it looked like a bruise. Now it's all brown, and it makes it so much better, to the point where I actually think I like the brown, even if the black and blue would have been really cool too.
What are your thoughts on Metro bringing back the brown color? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's step inside and look at the interior of the mock-up, which in some ways is similar to what we already know, although there are some big differences.
All right, so a big question whenever there's a new train, what are the seats like? In the last mock-up, the seats were not the actual seats that we're gonna get. These are, I believe, so I'm gonna try them out. They have more padding, it feels like, than the 7000 series. For me, seats, it's always a trade-off between padding and everything else. So I like the padding on the older trains, but I always bump my legs or my butt on the structure. This kind of has the best of both worlds, where you have decent padding, but you also have the space that the seats on the 7000s had. All right, I'll start out with a couple of things that I really like. First, somewhat related, staff here, super friendly, awesome, always are. And then about the train. So we've got screens everywhere. And as some of you know, I spent some time living in Japan where that is a very standard thing. You know, these are Hitachi trains, so I'm not surprised. I love that the doors light up. They're green. I'm sure they light up red when they close. We see that in Seattle, New York. And then the seating layout. So right now, except for by the doors, most of the seats on trains are forward or backward facing. Here you still have that on one side, but on the other side it's aisle facing. And what that does is you have the same amount of seating space. You have the choice how you want to sit, but there's also more standing room. It's a really great design that I think we'll start seeing in more places. Also, love the white LED signs. I think if you could make that R like a red circle instead of just the letter R, it'd be even better.
So there's just more passenger information being communicated inside the train, which I think is good. Now, I don't think we can conclusively say that this is what the screens will look like. My guess is this is just a placeholder, and when the trains enter service, you'll see the final graphic design. There's also more multifunctional space on the train. So here you see stickers for suitcases, bicycles, strollers. Now, bicycles are already allowed on all trains at all times on the Metro, but having a designated bicycle space is just going to be a nicer experience. As somebody who brings my bicycle on the train at least once a week, I'm really looking forward to this feature. Now, when can we expect to see these in service? Well, like I said earlier, they're being built by Hitachi in Hagerstown right now. The staff on board told me that the first delivery is expected in late 2027, and then it's a year of testing, so I wouldn't expect these before the end of 2028 at the earliest.
Okay, these M-shaped air conditioning vents are really funny. And of course, these trains have heated floors, so hopefully the heat will be distributed a little bit better. I'm going to make one complaint, though. In the mock-up from 2 years ago, there was this beautiful, beautiful Washington, D.C. themed, cherry blossom themed pink and blue artwork on the walls. And they've replaced it with this, soulless brown M. I love that WMATA is returning to its roots with the brown branding, but not everything has to be brown. And if you could bring back something with more character, I think that would make these trains so much better. And now for, in my opinion, the best feature of the 8000s, the open gangway. This is the part between cars. You can stand here, you can walk through. So every train is made up of two cars, and then the gangway in between them is open, and that has safety benefits. It also has crowd control benefits. So if your car is really busy right now, or there's something else going on, instead of waiting until the station to move to the next car, you can just walk through and go to the quieter part. It also is just creating more space, which is why they've been common in Europe for decades now, and why more North American transit agencies are choosing to include them as well.
Now, an 8-car all-walk-through train would be even better than this, but sadly we're not going to see that because the facilities where these trains are maintained at can only handle trains that are 2 cars long. So instead, 8-car sets will basically be made up of 4 2-car sets. Finally, let's look at the operator's cab. So the old cab had all buttons, and this one is mostly screens. In fact, it even includes a monitor that shows live footage being recorded from cameras mounted on the outside of the train. I've mentioned this in other videos, but Metro is pursuing full automation in the future, and these trains already have a cabinet where the equipment for a future installation of communications-based train control can be installed, making these trains future-proof.
All right, let's talk about the 1000 and the 8000 series trains. Now, first things first, I love new trains. It's always been my favorite part of this hobby is whenever something new comes out. And what I liked is that with the old train next to the new train, you can really see all the features that the 8000 series has. That's just going to make travel so much better for passengers. However, inadvertently, you also end up comparing vibes. And while I wouldn't advocate to keep everything from the 1970s design, it's undeniable that parts of it feel more homey. It's the soft lighting, it's the use of colors, and the materials is one of the first things that Joe said to me when we stepped onto the new train as well. That's quite the contrast.
And I just wonder if there are things from the old design that could be incorporated into the new design. Like, there are parts of the 1970s interior that we need to leave in the past, absolutely. But the bright lights and the use of white and metal, I don't know, it doesn't feel as welcoming. You don't enter a new train into service every year. It's a relatively rare occasion. So what if we use this occasion to incorporate some homey, comfortable designs into these new trains? It's food for thought. What do you think? Are you excited for the new trains? Let me know in the comments below. Happy 250th America. I hope everybody else has a very pleasant weekend, and we'll see you next time.